What if I told you that some of the health checkups most people rush to get after turning 70 could actually be doing more harm than good? Every year, millions of seniors faithfully show up for routine tests, believing they're protecting their health. But a truth few doctors ever mention: some of these must-have screenings may quietly raise your risk of surgery, stroke, even cancer. Recent studies have revealed something shocking: up to 37% of medical tests in older adults lead to unnecessary treatments, complications, or lifelong side effects. And here's the kicker: 99% of people over 70 have no idea they're being over-tested. One particular checkup, number 1 on our list, is linked to 5% of all cancer cases in the US, the same rate caused by drinking alcohol daily. You won't hear this in your doctor's office or see it on a billboard, but the evidence is right there, buried in the science. Today, we're uncovering all the 5 medical checkups you should avoid after 70 and the alarming truth about what they can really do to your body. Every point is backed by real research, and trust me, you'll be stunned by what made it to number 2. Before we dive in, tell us in the comments where you're watching from, your age, and if you've ever regretted a medical test or procedure. Do you think seniors are being tested too often? I read and replied to as many comments as possible with personalized health insights just for you. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss out on more science-based health advice that can help you stay stronger longer. Now let's start with the first test, one that seems perfectly harmless, until you learn how it could quietly steal your quality of life. Number 5, the bone density scan. It sounds simple enough, right? No pain, no needles. Just a quick scan to tell you how strong your bones are. Most people walk in thinking they're being proactive and walk out believing their bones might crumble any minute. But here's what almost no one tells you: after age 70, this scan can do more harm than good. The test, officially called a DEXA scan, measures bone strength and is often used to detect osteoporosis. But for older adults, especially women, those results almost always come back showing low density, even when there's no real danger at all. Because bone loss is a normal part of aging, just like wrinkles or gray hair. It happens to everyone. Yet far too often, a slightly lower reading on a scan pushes seniors into strong prescription drugs like bisphosphonates, medications meant to harden bones, but known to carry serious risks, including jaw necrosis, a rare condition where the jawbone starts to die, and esophageal inflammation. And here's the shocking part: the science doesn't back the benefit. A long-term study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society followed more than 1,200 women over 70. After 5 years, those taking bisphosphonates had only a 0.3% reduction in fracture risk, virtually no difference, but a much higher rate of medication-related side effects like digestive pain, inflammation, and brittle bones that fractured in unusual ways. Let me tell you about Helen, a 76-year-old retired piano teacher I once met. She was active, healthy, walked every day, never had a fall in her life. Her doctor ordered a routine DEXA scan, and the results showed osteopenia, a mild, natural loss of bone density. She was immediately prescribed a bisphosphonate called alendronate. Within 3 months, she developed severe acid reflux and jaw pain. She couldn't even play the piano. When we reviewed her case, we stopped the medication and focused instead on what truly builds bone health: vitamin D supplementation, weight-bearing exercises like light resistance bands and walking, a calcium-rich diet with foods like sardines, almonds, and leafy greens. A year later, Helen was performing again, stronger, steadier, and fracture-free. Here's the takeaway for most people over 70 who haven't fallen or broken a bone: lifestyle changes are far more effective than a pill. In fact, a 2022 study in Osteoporosis International found that strength training, balance exercises, proper nutrition, and correcting vitamin D deficiency can reduce fracture risk by more than 20%. So before letting a scan define your health, remember you're more than a number on a screen. Sometimes the smartest medicine is movement, sunshine, and a little confidence in your body's resilience. But next, there's a scan that's far more dangerous, one that could even lead to brain surgery. Number 4, the brain MRI for memory loss. When you start forgetting names or misplacing your glasses, what's the first emotion that hits? Fear. Fear of dementia. Fear of Alzheimer's. And naturally, many doctors respond with a brain MRI, hoping to find answers, reassurance, or at least a clue. But here's the uncomfortable truth. These scans rarely provide the clarity people are looking for. A brain MRI gives us a detailed picture of the brain's structure, but in adults over 70, the vast majority show normal age-related changes, tiny white spots or slight shrinkage that come with time, not disease. Once those abnormalities appear on a report, it can start a spiral of anxiety, more testing, and sometimes even surgery procedures that don't improve memory, and in some cases can make things worse. A 2021 study published in Neurology Today analyzed more than 3,000 MRI scans in people aged 70 to 85 who reported mild memory concerns. The findings were eye-opening. 86% showed some kind of abnormality, but only 3% were linked to any treatable condition. That means 97% of patients were told something was wrong, when medically speaking, nothing serious was. Even more concerning, about 12% of those patients went on to undergo invasive follow-ups like spinal taps or exploratory biopsies, all triggered by vague MRI results that offered no real answers. Let me tell you about Frank, a 74-year-old retired engineer. He came in worried because he was forgetting names and occasionally misplaced his keys. His doctor ordered an MRI which showed small white matter changes, perfectly normal for his age. But once he saw that report, panic set in. Frank stopped driving, withdrew from his church group, and his anxiety skyrocketed. When we reassessed him with a standard cognitive screening test, his score was well within the normal range. We explained that his MRI results were age-appropriate and nothing to fear. With better sleep, hydration, and mental exercises like memory games and social engagement, his symptoms stabilized within 3 months. The truth is, unless you're showing serious neurological symptoms, such as seizures, sudden personality changes, or rapid decline, a brain MRI is rarely helpful for mild forgetfulness. A smarter first step. Try a simple cognitive screening test, a quick paper-based exam that evaluates memory, focus, and problem-solving. It's inexpensive, accurate, and most importantly, it spares you the emotional toll of unnecessary worry. So before you rush into a scan, remember sometimes the problem isn't in your brain. It's in the fear that the test itself creates. Now brace yourself. The next test on this list is one you've probably had more than once, and it ranks number 3 for a reason. Number 3, the cardiac stress test. It's one of the most common exams doctors order when someone says, "I just don't have the energy I used to," or "my chest feels a little tight." The cardiac stress test monitors your heart while you walk on a treadmill or receive medication that mimics exercise. The goal is to detect blocked arteries before they cause trouble. But after age 70, this test can often do more harm than good, especially for people who don't have clear signs of heart disease. In older adults, the test's accuracy drops dramatically. Research shows that for people over 70, the false positive rate when the test says there's a problem, even though there isn't, can reach as high as 40%. And when the test raises a false alarm, the consequences can snowball. It often leads to more invasive tests like angiograms, and sometimes even unnecessary stent placements or bypass surgeries, all of which carry serious risks. A major 2017 study published in JAMA Cardiology revealed that over half of all stents placed after stress test referrals were performed on patients with no true symptoms or measurable benefit. Even worse, those patients showed no improvement in survival or quality of life afterward. What they did experience were complications, bleeding kidney injury from the contrast dye, and prolonged hospital stays that stole weeks, sometimes months of recovery. Let me tell you about Robert, a 75-year-old retired mail carrier who loved his morning walks. During a routine checkup, he casually mentioned that he sometimes felt tired climbing hills. Out of caution, his doctor scheduled a stress test. The results were inconclusive, so he was sent for a cardiac catheterization, where a tube was inserted into his arteries to check for blockages. They found a mild narrowing, something completely normal for his age, but a stent was placed anyway. That night, Robert had a severe reaction to the contrast dye, leading to acute kidney injury. He spent 6 days in the hospital, followed by weeks of follow-up care. And the fatigue. It never changed because it wasn't a heart issue at all. He simply needed better hydration and more rest between meals. So if you're over 70 and not experiencing classic cardiac symptoms like chest pain during activity, shortness of breath when walking, or a significant drop in stamina, then a stress test might not be the best first step. A safer alternative: a resting EKG, which measures your heart rhythm while you're still, or a coronary calcium scan, a low-radiation test that detects plaque buildup before it becomes dangerous. They're simpler, safer, and far less likely to send you down a medical path you never needed. Because sometimes protecting your heart isn't about pushing it harder. It's about choosing tests that protect your peace of mind. Number 2, colonoscopy. You might not have expected this one, but after age 70, a colonoscopy, the test that uses a long, flexible camera to examine your colon, is not always the best choice. And after 75, it's almost never recommended unless there are specific warning signs. Why? Because as we age, the risks rise sharply. The preparation alone can be brutal. Strong laxatives that flush your system, often leaving older adults dehydrated, dizzy, or with kidney strain. Then comes the sedation, which can temporarily affect brain function and balance, increasing the risk of confusion or falls afterward. And here's what surprises most people: even the procedure itself carries serious dangers: bleeding, tearing of the bowel, or heart rhythm changes caused by the sedatives used. A large 2019 study published in JAMA Internal Medicine looked at over 1.3 million Medicare patients aged 70 and older. For every 1,000 colonoscopies performed in people over 75, only 2 lives were saved, while more than 20 suffered major complications. That's a 10-to-1 risk-to-benefit ratio. Even when small polyps are found, they're often slow-growing and harmless, especially at this age. Removing them can sometimes do more harm than leaving them alone. Let me share the story of Elaine, a 73-year-old grandmother who ran a small bakery with her daughter. She felt perfectly fine, no pain, no bleeding, no changes in her bowel habits, and no family history of colon cancer. But her new primary care doctor, eager to be thorough, urged her to have a screening colonoscopy. Elaine agreed. During the test, a small polyp was removed and she was sent home. But that night she developed severe abdominal pain and fainted. At the hospital, doctors found a bowel perforation, a tear in her colon wall. She spent 9 days recovering, lost 10 pounds, and never fully regained her old energy. When we reviewed her records, it turned out she had already had 2 clean colonoscopies before. There was absolutely no medical reason to repeat it. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force now advises stopping routine colon cancer screening at age 75 for most people. For those in excellent health who still want to screen, a safer, easier option is the FIT test, a simple at-home stool-based test that detects hidden blood. It requires no prep, no sedation, and still catches most significant cases. So before scheduling another colonoscopy, ask your doctor about alternatives. Because once you step into the colonoscopy pipeline, it can be hard to step back out. And now we've reached the most overused, most dangerous, and most misunderstood medical checkup for seniors. And chances are, you've already had it. Number 1, the annual full-body CT scan. They're often promoted as the ultimate preventive tool, sleek, high-tech executive health packages that promise to catch cancer early before it starts. But here's the shocking truth: a full-body CT exposes you to a very high dose of ionizing radiation. For older adults, especially those over 70, this exposure can trigger a cascade of false alarms, unnecessary follow-ups, painful biopsies, and even risky surgeries. And the irony? There's zero evidence that full-body CT scans in people with no symptoms actually save lives. Each scan delivers between 10 to 20 millisieverts of radiation that's equivalent to about 500 chest X-rays in a single session. A 2023 study published in JAMA Internal Medicine found that the growing use of CT scans across the United States may now account for up to 5% of all cancers, placing them on the same level as alcohol as a cancer-causing factor. In other words, 1 in every 20 cancers could be linked to a scan that was supposed to prevent disease. What's worse, These scans often detect tiny, harmless findings like nodules, calcifications, or cysts that are completely normal signs of aging. But once they show up on a report, the domino effect begins: more scans, more tests, more fear. Take Harold, an active 80-year-old, who used to teach martial arts to fellow seniors. He felt great, strong, energetic, and symptom-free. During a premium senior elite checkup at a private clinic, his full-body CT scan revealed a tiny 3-millimeter nodule in his lung. That little dot set off a chain reaction. He was referred to an oncologist, sent for a PET scan, and eventually underwent a needle biopsy. The result: benign. But the biopsy caused his lung to partially collapse, landing him in the hospital for a week and on oxygen for 2 months. All of that for something that never needed to be touched. Experts today are united on this point. Full-body CT scans should never be used for routine screening in healthy adults without symptoms. The American College of Radiology is clear there's no proven benefit, and the potential for harm is significant. If you're experiencing specific symptoms like unexplained weight loss, coughing up blood, or swelling, then a targeted scan is absolutely appropriate. But scanning your entire body just to be safe, that's like searching for treasure with a landmine detector. You might find something, but the damage can be far worse than what you were trying to avoid. A safer, smarter approach is simple: listen to your body. If you feel well, stick to regular checkups with your primary care physician and only undergo tests that are clearly indicated. Because sometimes the best way to stay healthy isn't through more scanning, it's through trusting the balance of science, common sense, and self-awareness. Your time, energy, and health are far too valuable to waste on fear-driven screenings that can leave you worse off than where you started. So there you have it, 5 medical checkups that may look helpful on the surface but can quietly cause harm, especially after age 70. Modern medicine is powerful, but it's not perfect. Sometimes less truly is more. If this test finds something, if the results are unclear, or if the risks outweigh the rewards, it might be time to pause to think twice before saying yes. Because real prevention doesn't start in a hospital. It starts with you, staying active, eating real nourishing food. Now we'd love to hear from you. Have you or someone you love ever faced complications from a medical test or procedure that turned out to be unnecessary? What happened? What did you learn from it? Share your story in the comments below, because your experience could help someone else make a safer, smarter choice. Thank you for watching.